Yeah.
Oh, I hear you.
Sweet. Yeah, I had to move my computer. I've been trying to work on some stuff. Hello?
Hi. Can you hear me?
Yeah, yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, cool. I've never used Zoom before.
Yeah, I've been using it too much. But yeah, we're all set up. How are you?
Cool. How are you? I'm good. I'm good. Getting winding down from Thanksgiving.
Oh yeah, yeah. I am stuffed and tired and but somehow I'm still trying to do stuff today, but yeah, gotta do what you gotta do.
Yeah, never stops.
So I don't know if I ever like actually met you before. I do know that you know China.
Yeah, we actually did meet, but it was very late. It was at Numbers. I think we were both a little gone.
Yeah.
I think
So
that's the only time we met. I'm pretty sure.
you know China well though, right?
Yeah, yeah. I love
Oh,
her.
okay. So how do you guys know each other?
So knew I met her through Paula and Rebecca.
Oh, what? For real?
Yeah, yeah. Well, so first I met Paula in like 2016. I met her through an ex and I just loved her so much. She has like the best energy, the best spirit. And so after I split with that ex, I was still like, I still want to be friends with this girl. And then through her, of course, I met Reb. And then through hanging out with them like a couple of times, met everyone else.
Nice, nice.
And Amachina, like I was like, whenever I first started following her on socials, I was like, I have to know this girl because I love her work. And so it's crazy to hear, like, she just did a shoot with us with my band, and it was crazy to hear that she was like, oh, I'm kind of just getting back into it. I was like, stay into it because you're good. Like, I just love her stuff.
Okay, we're gonna need to put a bookmark there. You said you have a band? Okay, well, we're gonna get to that, but uh,
Okay.
yeah. So you ended up hanging out with so you knew of China before you actually were introduced through Reb and Paola.
Yeah, yeah, I followed her already.
Oh, okay. Yeah, China's work is kind of crazy. Like, I don't know. I really want to see her in a place where she can do that like full time, you know? But like
Yeah, she
with
needs to.
yeah, yeah, with the steps with photography is kind of tricky because um it's hard to find that space between like, going from doing it as like a, kind of part-time hobby situation to like full-time where you have like clients and, like making the step between professional and whatever else is before that. Like,
Right.
intense. Like all my roommates here are photographers. And they're trying to do the same thing.
Oh, cool. I'm
Yeah.
sure it's also difficult whenever you like what you're used to is kind of shooting your friends and like people in the scene, and they a lot of times don't tend to like value, well, I mean, they value your work, but they expect, to kind of be favored a little bit. So yeah, moving over to like actually getting compensated fairly, I'm sure is really difficult.
Oh yeah, yeah. But I mean, I don't know where China's like. China's been on the grind recently.
Mm,
The inspiration kind of kicks up with her, and when it does, it does. And I'm pretty sure just seeing how she works, like every time that happens, it kind of like sets the medium level a little bit higher. So
that's good.
oh
That's
yeah.
good. I feel like I'm kind of like that. Like I'll go a long time without doing anything, and then when I start, I like can't stop because it just feel you're like I have to be doing this. Like it's why you're alive to be
Oh
a
yeah.
creative.
So yeah, that's a perfect segue. Like what? So you have a band. What kind of
Yeah,
music do
yeah.
you make? Like spill the beans.
Um, I guess our music is like I don't know. It's an interesting mix. So it's like um more like heavier on the instrument side, and then I am the vocalist, so my vocals are like more like softer and kind of dreamier. So it's a good mix of the two. It's kind of crazy. Like I hadn't really written music with anyone in a really long time since I was in my probably late teens, early 20s.
Nice.
And so I didn't think this was going to be anything, but I just ended up with being around the best people. And that's something that is so rare. I guess in any creative sphere, it can be rare and something that you want to hold on to.
Oh
Like
yeah.
just being with really trustworthy and people that kind of like fill in blanks that you all have, you know? We
Yeah,
just all work really well together.
it's like sharing a brain.
Right, exactly. It kind of it's funny because there are a lot of not shortcomings, but like things that you don't really excel at that you don't really realize until you're with people who do, and they kind of kick that up for you, and you're like, okay, I didn't know that I needed that. And
Yeah,
that's it. I mean, I don't want to ever take for granted having that because I have worked with people before where I just feel like not really undervalued, but just kind of like put down a lot. And I mean, obviously, you can't be too sensitive to that, but it's hard whenever you're a creative. You put so much of yourself into your work. So,
yeah, with collaboration, that's like the stickiest kind of situation you can get in because it's a mix of uh, wanting your contribution to be valued and also valuing other people's contributions, you know?
mm-hmm,
And they're like, I feel like everyone's kind of more or less, naturally in one end, depending on who they're working with, just how that collaborative relationship works. And sometimes pairings can result in like, I don't know, someone who knows that their vision is, what they want to do, and they'll kind of like
mm-hmm,
stomp on people to kind of let
mm-hmm.
that happen. And then it's just imbalance and it's like you need to kind of just know what you want to do and it like being in a collaborative situation is just like how can we all make what we want to happen and
Yeah,
need to let go of stuff like that. And that's just hard. So
it is so
congratulations
hard.
on finding your family.
Thank you. I go through like these times where I just feel really discouraged creatively, and that manifests in like being kind of negative towards them. And then something will happen, like we'll have like a little bit of creative success together, or just like something personally will happen where I realize like shit, like these people are I can't lose like this connection that I have with these people because or a lot of times it's because my other friends who play music, they'll have issues within their groups, or they'll feel like they're missing something that I don't have like the same feelings. And I'm just constantly telling myself like, man, I really need to appreciate my band more because they're always there. They are like my best friends. And I'm probably the most negative one in the group. So everyone's always like trying to get me up and going, and
Well, it's
that
probably just you're vocal about it.
yeah,
That
well, yeah, it is. I just go through extremes. Like I let myself go. I'm not shy to be depressed outwardly. So I just go through my things pretty, yeah, I'm pretty open about sharing that. And so sometimes I'll leave rehearsal or something and I'll be like, "Oh my God, I was so negative," or I was like shooting everyone's ideas down. But then when I talk to them about it, they're like, nobody cares. Like everyone's just like happy to be there. We just like go back and forth, and that's what we're there for.
Yeah, that's
It's like
beautiful.
making me miss them.
You're gonna like hit them up after this?
I know I'm gonna be like, I love you guys. Happy Thanksgiving.
Yeah, that's beautiful, And I feel like I don't know, in your role, like in the band, like being emotional and like vocal about your emotions, like literally only helps, like what you're doing. Because
That's true.
do you write?
Yeah, yeah, nonstop.
That is like I've been so recently I've been trying to force myself to become obsessed with being organized because I'm
Hmm.
like an absolute mess when it comes to organizing stuff. And I'm reading this book, and in the book, there was like basically there's this one concept in this like organization thing. I'm gonna go all the way, and then I'm gonna bring it back, but
Okay.
I'm going somewhere with it. Um,
Okay.
there's a concept that kind of like helps you structure and organize things, in a digital space, and it's like a organizing strategy called like core, and it's like the first step is capture. I don't really care about the others right now because it's not relevant. But
Hmm.
capturing like your ideas and writing it down and stuff is like really important. And in the book, he brings up Taylor Swift as an example. I'm not sure how you feel about her, but
Indifferent, totally indifferent.
perfect. In the thing that he was talking about how in an interview she kind of like just like writes every kind of thought down, and then she kind of comes back to it and kind of like elaborates on whatever metaphor she kind of just came up with, like words that felt good together, or ways to abstract kind of phrases she was thinking of, and then she just takes all of that shit and she just like makes a song out of it. And I'm like, what? Like, is that how it usually works, or
That's so funny because I know very little about Taylor Swift, but that's pretty much exactly what I do. Like
what?
I I started doing that because um whenever I was playing music in my like late teens, I was reading Year of Magical Thinking by Joan Didion, and she talks about, obviously it's about her husband, and she talks about how he would carry like this little notebook with him and just write constantly, like if he had like a weird encounter, or yeah, if he heard a word that he liked or connected to, just any, literally anything, just a phrase that he thought was nice. And so I started doing that, and it really is exceptional because you go throughout your day experiencing these things that just go in and out that you never really think about again. And they can be quite special. And going back to those things later is like you start to, it's like a muscle,
Oh yeah.
the more you do it, the more you do it. And so your brain grabs onto like things that you wouldn't notice previously because it's constantly searching. And I found that it really does connect later. Like whenever sometimes I'll already know the tone of a song that I want to write. I won't know like exactly what I want it to be about, but I'll know the feeling. And then going back through some of those writings, like there's things that just were meant for that moment. And it's really strange. It's like a very romanticized way of writing, but it really works really well. And it I feel like I've become so attached to it though that it does kind of hinder me sometimes whenever things, like I'm trying to write something in a simple way. Like for instance, if I'm writing with my band members and they're just like jamming and they want me to just try something, I kind of get anxious because I'm like so used to doing this very
Oh,
complex process of like this has to be a very special thing, me choosing, like I've always been a word person, but I just overcomplicate the process sometimes. So I'll make everybody wait on me so that I have the week to like go home and look through my writings and like choose different ones that work. And but I just have to do it because if I just throw something out, even though sometimes it sounds good, it's not it doesn't mean as much, which I mean it doesn't in a sense, but I just don't feel quite as connected to it because the other writings are like it's like a connection to your previous self and like
Mm.
the weeks before or the months or years before or whatever. And it also makes for much more, you put a lot more emotion into the song at that point because it's like such a such a part of you that is not easy to explain. It like makes it more special. Um and more interesting. I mean, I tend to, if I'm writing things on the fly, just write about the same things. Like I tend to write about being depressed, relationships, or like the world ending. And the having like this source material helps you to really make your body of work a lot more interesting. And I mean, you can still write about those things, but you do it
You
in
can
like
anchor
a
it to
more
something
interesting
else.
way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of so that's really interesting, you know, how you kind of like develop your basically the lyrics that you write and stuff. Cause like yeah, I can understand how once you get like really reliant on you know that system of like organizing and like creating those new ideas or those lyrics, it's like then you gotta switch it off or to
Mm-hmm.
you know kind of like start freestyling.
Mm-hmm.
And that's yeah I guess that's like the double-edged sword of like, you know, having one direction, which I kind of want to experience that a little because I'm kind of the opposite. I like I do have a notebook where I like write ideas down and stuff like that, but I do like too many things, so usually I just like write it down just to kind of like get it out, but I never
Right.
reference anything later on unless it's like really stuck, you know? So I've kind of gained a bit of an interest in like writing a little bit more structured or like poetry and stuff like that. Like structured, but
Mm-hmm.
like also a little freestyled, but mostly to just like, I don't know, to explore what thoughts are like freely just like dancing around in my mind and try and like
Mm-hmm.
make associations between them. That way, like, you know, of course I'm only gonna be thinking about in general like 10 things. Uh, but with the I don't know, I like to think of it mostly as just like freestyling in
Mm-hmm.
general. Like that
Right.
can be applied to like sketching or you know speaking to people. Like for example, like what we're doing now is like totally freestyle. It's
Mm-hmm.
it'll be interesting to see. Um, I don't know what freestyling with like some sort of a framework over it look like. I wrote something about that a little bit like a year ago, and it was basically how uh, someone's like subconscious library is is bigger or smaller depending on like how they freestyle, like what that output looks like. And I guess the huge question is like, how do you add to that? You know, like that subconscious library of stuff to just like pull from. Uh, I don't think I thought about that before.
That's cool.
um, but yeah, like mine is still 10 things. I need to figure out how to make that thing like 20. But I don't know. Kind of brings me back to like taking more notes and that's my recent obsession.
It's funny that you say like it's more organizational because I find it's like I've always thought of my myself, especially in that practice, as being kind of chaotic because even though I mean, I have so many different notebooks because I'll start writing in one and then I'll forget and then I'll just start in another one. So technical, like the technical organization is not really there, but also like it's so random what goes on the pages. And there are some things that like I will use and then I'll forget that I used them. And so I'll just like use them again. I've done that with lyrics before too. And I guess it's just because my head is not very organized that I feel like all the things I do physically are not also not really that organized. And that although I have found recently that doing that, writing all that stuff down, um, I haven't really been using that lately, which I probably should go back to it because I'll get so deep in like the emotion of something that I'm writing quickly that I don't want to like mess it up where I'm at in that moment. So I don't really go back to looking through my stuff that I already have. Or like I said, since I have so many notebooks, I'll look at one and there's like a couple of pages and I'm like, oh, I don't really like anything in there. And then I just won't look at any of the other ones. So I don't even know where they are. And now a lot of them have like kids like scribbles from my kid in it. So I'm just like, oh, it's her notebook
Collaborate.
now.
Yeah, it's a collaboration piece.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm so I'm gonna I'm gonna go off about this whole organizing thing, because
Okay.
I'm exactly the same way where I write a lot of stuff down and I have like a lot of like output just because like I hate not at least like recording an idea, like not to
Mm-hmm.
toot my horn or anything, but I feel like I have a lot of good ideas.
Yeah.
Like yeah, I just want to write them down, and but whenever I do that I like literally never get back to them. And I also forget about, things that are really important, like, I don't know, what I'm going to be doing like next week, or like if I plan something
Mm-hmm.
with someone, or like literally everyone's birthdays, like,
Mm-hmm.
and all of the things that I'm supposed to remember. I put a lot of pressure on my memory, and I've gotten in so much trouble for that. But yeah, like I've been doing a lot of like research and stuff on organizing, and there's like basically the book that I'm reading is called How to Build a Second Brain. And I hate like how-to books or books that feel self-helpy, but I need help. Like
It sounds cool.
no, yeah.
One
So
second
the whole
brain.
concept of a second brain is that you're utilizing like your phone to organize those organizational thoughts. It's basically like using your phone as an assistant to like record everything. And then once you kind of get in the habit of, and that's what the C stands for, is capturing in that core
Mm-hmm.
acronym. The next step is basically, figuring out how to organize all of the shit that you just kind of like
Mm,
pooped out onto your phone.
mm-hmm.
And that's what you can't do with like physical notes. You
That's
can
true.
you can organize it with like sticky notes and stuff, but if you end up with like 5 books, you're gonna be
Yeah.
like,
And it's hard to edit. You can't really edit like you can on your phone.
yeah, yeah. So like with the phone, you can just record all of this information, and based on like your style of like information recording, like you kind of just tap in anything.
Mm-hmm.
So once you have all of that shit, you can start giving them like labels, and that like automatically sends them to different spaces. Maybe some labels have like 5 different labels, so it's related to like an emotion, a specific time period, or a this. And then if you pull up that label, all of those similar thoughts, notes, lyric ideas, shower thoughts like come up, and
Mm.
then you can kind of like, all right, maybe I want to use these 4, and then you can, I don't know what comes next after that, but
You haven't got there yet.
Yeah, I'm like halfway through the book and I'm like, well, I need to do stuff first. Like I
That
need to,
sounds so great, though. I
yeah.
need to read this book.
Oh yeah, yeah. The book is helpful. What's not helpful though is like the YouTube videos. Like there's like productivity culture and the content that comes out of that shit is like so overwhelming. Like
Mm-hmm.
these people are like, oh, here's a guide of my second brain, and they have like a whole like they're like, yeah, I've been developing it for more than 3 years, and it's literally impossible what they make, but it's interesting. But after I watch that shit, I'm like, damn, like, I don't know if I'll get there, but I'm gonna try with my
Who
piano.
has the time? The
Yeah,
time for
those
all that.
motherfuckers do. Yeah, they find the time somehow. They're so organized, those
Right?
bastards.
They already did all their other stuff.
Yeah, yeah. But it's interesting, and I don't know. Maybe that might help you out a little bit in that
Yeah,
specific area.
I see now that I was at the starting line of organization and I just need to go to the next step then because that might be pretty helpful to me. I have in the past like I've found an old notebook that I only wrote a few pages in and I'm like, well shit, I have this entire other notebook. So then I just tear the pages out of that and put them in the back of the other notebook, but then they like fall out and they're just like randomly in the floor of my car and it stresses me out just to think about it.
How many notebooks do you have? And do you have them like for different things?
Oh yeah, I have
Oh, sweet.
um notebooks for lists, which I don't utilize nearly enough.
That's kind of
Um, I have probably five different band notebooks because I we it was a while before we really like started writing together. Like when I first joined, I was kind of just joining to fill in because Nate, our guitarist, he had already written this entire album. He just hadn't written any of the vocal parts to it. So I kind of just fit myself into these songs. I wasn't really a part of creating them. I mean, I which is really difficult, especially because it wasn't really a genre that I had worked with before. So it was hard to kind of fit myself in. But I
Mhm.
didn't do a whole lot of writing. Those songs I did just kind of go whatever sounded good because what I wanted to write didn't really fit the vibe or the tempo. I couldn't really fit the words in. And so it wasn't until after that first album that I really started working harder on writing and so yeah, I would start several different notebooks. And even recently I did it again thinking like, oh, like I found a nice one that I'd never written in before. And I was like, okay, this is like so nice and clean. I'm going to use this one as my band notebook for this new album. But then I would find like two other ones that I had already started in and I just forgot about them. So I don't even know what I'm going to do with those anymore. Probably collectively, I have at least five that have current work in them. So I'm not sure how I'm going to consolidate that. I'm going to have to do some arts and crafts and glue some of the old pages
Together.
together. I've
That would
thought about trying to be really extra and I do illustration too. So I have sketchbooks as well. So I thought about just putting it all together, just like cutting it all out and putting it together as like an archive for whenever I'm old and I can give it to my daughter and make it a lot more interesting to write in. But the time, I gotta find the time.
yeah, I think that's a cool idea because I don't know, the more that's one thing that you don't get with like digital shit is
Mm-hmm.
like, well, you get a little bit of customization aspects, but like a good old like scrapbook kind of thing. Like some of my favorite notebooks or sketchbooks or whatever are like, the really shitty, like, I like it almost made the notebook, with all that
Mm-hmm.
shit that I was like
Mm-hmm.
taping in there, gluing in there.
Yeah, it's like busting out.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Like those are like, man, those are the valuable ones. Oh, and there's, damn, what the fuck? There's 10 minutes left.
Oh no. Damn
That
it.
was fast.
Organizational talk.
Yeah. What? Yeah, I'm trying to make these a little shorter. These are the last ones. This is the last one.
Really? Oh,
Yeah.
that's cool. Special.
Yeah. It just kind of became a little too much, and yeah, I'm trying to focus on other things like organizing stuff.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That's why I'm like going off about it. Um, but yeah, I see, and this is like sidebar as hell. We could get back to what we were talking about before, but you're wearing an ugly face shirt.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I am. Oh
Present.
my God. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's cool. I bought this because I saw Machina modeling it in the post and I was like, "Oh my God, it's so cool." And I love Miles' work. He's also one of my favorite local artists. So had to snatch that up. Yeah, I that's so funny. I haven't been able to wear this because it hasn't been cold except for like the past 2 weeks. And so I'm busting out my sweaters now, finally.
Nice. The ugly face couture.
Exactly. Couture collection.
But but yeah, what was the shoot for?
For
That you guys were shooting.
um we haven't really released anything since like 2020 and we were just um asked to do this is so random. We got contacted by the guy who created Rick and Morty and he was doing like a special like a Halloween special animation thing on Hulu and he asked to use one of our songs. So we were all like, what the fuck? Like we're kind of one of the more lazier bands and I if any of my bandmates watch this, I know it's because of me because I'm slow to complete anything and that's why we haven't really put much out. But we don't do like a lot of self promotion or anything, which is why I know I have so many close friends who I've known like my whole life who I'll tell them something about the band and they'll be like, "You're in a band?" And I'm like, "God damn it, I have to be better at like promotional stuff. I'm not very good at it."
Drop
So,
the name real quick.
a good girl. The band
Good
is Good Girl.
girl. Nice.
Um, yeah, uh, in the past we've had like photo shoots and stuff, but it wasn't really anything that we put too much work in, unfortunately. And it was probably almost 2 years ago that me and Nate both were like, we have to work with Amachina because I don't know, I just feel like even though this sounds kind of self-gratuitous, like I feel like I understand what she's trying to communicate. And it's probably just because she is communicating herself through her work.
Oh
It's
yeah.
really like authentic and it's something that I it moves me often and I feel like a weird kind of relation to her work. And so I wanted to do something really special because we wanted to kind of put ourselves back out there. And I had already asked her a long time ago, and she kept saying, yes, she's into it, she's into it. But we're just so bad at scheduling stuff. And there's always something going on with back then, whenever I first asked her, my daughter was 1. So it was like
Oh yeah.
impossible to even leave my house. So yeah, once we finally got some money to be able to pick, because that was another thing. I was like, if we work with someone locally, I want to be able to pay them. In the past, we've had like people offer to do stuff for free, but I really I wanted it to be something that the artist would be really like it wouldn't just be a favor. I wanted them to feel just as valued and that way their work it comes through in the work as well. And so yeah, I told her I was like, look, we have to get on our promotional game. I'm so bad at it and there's so many young creatives, people who are in the music scene who just do all their own stuff and they're so good at it and we're just not to that level yet and I knew I just felt like I could trust her vision, which is very rare. I'm not super picky when it comes to art, but this new, like, we're working on a new record and we're about to put out a new single that it did a lot of emotion went into it. A lot of stuff has happened personally and in the world, obviously, since we were last writing, that I just feel like I wanted our promotional stuff to kind of reflect the emotion that is going to be coming through in the music as well. So that was like a no-brainer for all of us. We all were like, we have to finally get together with her, and she came through. And I
Oh yeah.
feel so bad I had to cancel with her so many times because so many things happened. I got sick. My grandfather passed.
Oh, sorry.
We it, it was just it was almost comical. Like the only dates that I had anything going on were the dates with her, and then something would just happen. And every time I messaged her, I was like, I am so sorry I had to do this again. And she's just every time like, I'm available whenever you need. So she
Hey, it
came
was meant to
through. Yeah, yeah. And it was perfect, just like I thought. She's
happen.
the
Yeah, those images are
best.
crazy. I was like,
She,
damn,
you don't even know that she gave us so much content that I'm just like, I want to like put out a fucking book with the stuff that she gave us. It's so good. I can't wait to really be able to like use it for stuff. So
oh, nice.
yeah.
I'm pretty sure you guys are gonna have plenty more spaces to promote, you know? That sounds like that Rick and Morty kind of like what? Like did you ask where they found you guys' stuff?
Yeah, it was through Instagram. Well, actually no. He we were like how the hell did you even find us? Because he contacted us through Instagram, right? And at the time we had like 200 followers. So we not I was like, how the hell did this guy find us? And he commented on one of our posts, and I didn't know who he was. So I saw the comment and was like,
It's like, oh,
whatever, that's a guy, that's just a guy. And it wasn't for weeks until I realized who it was. And the guys, of course, knew who he was, and they were like freaking out. I was like, this is your fault. You should have known to answer him. But anyways, yeah, he said that I think he lived in Houston for a short period of time, and he has a friend who he said just sends him music all the time, and she sent our music to him.
oh,
So ever since then, we're all like, who is this person? Like, we owe her our life. So I have no, I mean, it was just really by chance. And he's really cool for someone who's so famous. I'm not a big like celebrity person, but
man. I don't know who
he's
anyone is.
great. Yeah, it's weird. I saw I went to the Renaissance Fair recently, and we saw one of the guys that was on Stranger Things just walking around, and I was like, I don't know. It's cool to see someone from TV, but what are you even gonna say? Like my thought is like,
Yes.
who do you? I don't know. I would immediately start asking some uncomfortable like societal questions.
It's like what keeps you up at night?
Exactly. Where will you hide when the revolution comes?
Are you gonna be with us or against us?
Yeah.
Yeah, because well, at the end of the day, they're just kind of another regular person, you know, just with like
Yeah.
more money, you know.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you're gonna get mobbed in the future, I'm sure, by
Oh my God.
a couple of loyal fans, and then
Oh,
you can answer their weird questions.
right.
You're gonna be like,
Oh,
where will
I'd
you
be glad
hide?
to.
You're gonna be like, I got a basement. Don't worry.
Right. It's huge. It's huge.
It's like there's room for you guys too. But yeah, there's less than a minute left.
Okay.
Like a perfect ending point. It was
Mm-hmm.
good talking to you. Now I actually know you.
Right.
Hopefully, if I see you in Houston, we'll have more to talk about. I'll be able to let you know how the organizing goes.
Oh, nice. Are you coming for Christmas?
No, no, I'll be coming
Okay.
through probably mid next year.
Okay. Okay, cool. Well,